Hello and welcome to Clay to Canopy, the show where I attempt to make just about everything from the ground up. Today's episode is all about my terrible Instagram photos. I've been photographing the things that I make as I go along, and sometimes I make some really small objects, sometimes I make larger objects, but the only photos that I'm really excited about that I feel like were decent photos were the ones that I shoot of my harvest of vegetables out in the garden, and that's because my backdrop tends to be something that's really nice because it's my garden in the background, all this lush green. So I went to the dollar store in hopes to find some materials I could use to make some photo backdrops. So in this tutorial, I am going to be doing a couple different things with these glass beads that I found, these floral glass beads, and then I also found some decorative rocks that you could use that are also used for floral purposes. And then I have some tempered hardboard that I just picked up from Home Depot. These boards come in 2 feet by 4 feet wide up to 4 feet by 8 foot long sheet goods, and you can have it cut down to whatever size you need. So if you are doing a larger backdrop, you can totally do that. I'm just going to be using these pieces that I cut down to something a little bit smaller, and one's going to be for the backdrop on the back end, and one will be for having a little surface area to place the actual object on when I'm done. It's pretty straightforward. I got my hot glue gun, a whole bunch of glue sticks, and my material. And for the first one I'm going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and start with these glass beads. I have some blue ones and some clear white ones. And then I'm just gonna wing it here with my pattern and see how it goes. This will become my first backdrop, and then I'll move on to another set to do for these stones. So there we go, let's see how this rolls. And I thought about possibly painting this backdrop before I begin, but I actually like the natural brown with these beads. I think I might go and throw some paint on the ones that I do for the other rocks, but I think these beads, because of the clear glass, I kind of like this natural thing that's going on here. So just dump out some beads. And of course they're all over the place now. Here we go. In this case, it's probably good to have a rag handy because it looks like some of the beads in the making have this bit of a weird dust over them. It's probably from the glass, and so having a rag to polish them up a bit be helpful. And so because these are clear, you're going to have this natural color, as I said, coming through the background. You could totally paint this up with just some white paint, flat paint, and then go from there. But again, I'm just going to leave this color here. So I went ahead and I spray painted the boards for the black stones with the matte black spray paint. It was just really quick to dry on the black spray paint because I don't want to have that, as I said earlier, I don't want to have that natural color coming through with the black ones. I just think that for this one I'd rather have it kind of fade a little bit more into the background. And I'm just going to do a little bit of arranging so I can see how these stones are going to go. And if you don't want to use these decorative stones that you get for floral arrangements, you could try the gravel for fish tanks. That's an option. They come in many different colors, different sizes. Also, if you went to the garden center, you could certainly get some stone that is meant for landscaping. Those are actually pretty cheap. It's about like $5 for a bag. Generally though, there's a little bit more maintenance you're going to have to do with those. They're not really going to be these high gloss, high polish type of deals. A lot of times they're full of dust, so you have to wash them pretty well before you go ahead and try to use them for this type of situation. So just keep that in mind, though they are much cheaper. Alright y'all, welcome back. I have finished my two little backdrop scenes. And again, these are just in miniature because I really wanted mine for some smaller objects, but you can make these much larger than this. There are a couple things that I wanted to make note of as I was making them off camera. It was much easier for me to wash them with just a little bit of dish soap and some water, and it took away that little haze that I had mentioned before. Let's see what else I have. Once you stuck it down with that hot glue, it was really difficult to get it back up without ripping up part of the hardboard, which essentially is just compressed like cardboard. So when you did peel it up, you ended up losing a little bit of the layer, which for this natural one was not that big of a deal. But when it came to the River Rock one, because I wanted that black to be fairly seamless, if I did pick it up there, I had to be really careful to make sure that I put down the rock to cover up any bits of the cardboard that got peeled up. Okay, what else? My lovely little, I love making these lists on my little slate here and with the chalk. It saves on paper, but maybe I'll do a tutorial of how to make these in another video at some point. These can get fairly weighty if you are going to be doing them in the larger, so you want to make sure that you're handling them where you're not maneuvering them too much, but you can pop off too easily. Because I did use a low temperature hot glue, craft glue, a couple did pop off here and there and I had to put them back on. But just be aware that this is a 12-inch by 15-inch size and they're already pretty hefty. The way I have them set up here is I have just some old Halloween bucket, trick-or-treat buckets that I got on clearance, filled with some leftover rocks that I didn't use up all of the rocks that I had purchased for this, and that's just kind of supporting the backdrop to keep it upright. Certainly you could find a lighter material, or you could even probably produce these in panels and have them all kind of match up. Which brings me to my next point. If you are going to do component building and to get this seamless line, I made one complete piece first, stood it upright, and then used it as a guide here at the bottom to place my next set of stones so that I could make sure that it looked like a little seamless transition. And when I did do that, I made sure that I marked the back sides of each corner so I knew where they would line up. If you wanted to do these in panels, might be even cool to do something like these glass gems in varying colors, or even the rocks in varying colors, where you kind of get this two-tone kind of checkerboard thing going on. Okay, let's talk materials and money. So, I priced out a 4x8 large sheet of the hardboard, and it runs $8.50-ish for a large 4x8 sheet. However, you can purchase 2-foot by 4-foot little handy panels, especially if you are not only going to be using this for this one project. And the 2x4 handy panels is about $3.70. You will be able to get 6 pieces of backer board out of that whole piece of hardboard. So that means you would be able to make 3 sets of backdrops or mix and match 6 pieces. So going on that number, I divided that $3.75 to about $1.25 per setting for the hardboard. The glass gems, I did use a lot more bags of the glass gems than I did of the River Rock. I think it had to do with the size of the rock being so large compared to the glass gems. So I used 12 bags of the gems, and I did have some left over. Also, I used 2 bags of glue sticks from the 99-cent store, which were 20 glue sticks in each bag, but that was for both projects, and I used just under the 2 packages. So 1 bag of glue sticks puts me at $15 for this total setup, and for the River Rock, I only used 6 bags of the River Rock. You're looking at about $9. I will say I did purchase a couple extra bags of the River Rock that I did open because I was being a little picky, because some of the rock was actually chipped and broken, and you most certainly could use those rocks, but I didn't want to use them in my backdrop. So you have to give yourself a little room for error as far as what you're going to get in that mix. Next, why the heck did I even bother making these backdrops? Why couldn't I just take a photograph or something and prop it up in the background or find a nice place? Well, for me, I feel like when you're photographing, things against a photograph backdrop, I can see the difference and I can tell. Maybe that's the artist in me that can tell whether something was just kind of propped up against a computer screen or sat down on something that was really just a photograph and not the actual physical thing. There's some kind of quality that looks so much better if you actually have physical objects that you're placing it on. For me, it just aesthetically looks a lot better. Besides the fact that it gave me something to do on Sunday night instead of putting together, jigsaw puzzles, right? I got to glue a whole bunch of gems and rocks onto some boards, and it occupied some time. I did take some footage of me setting up these little things, and in doing so I used a couple of additional items. This museum wax and this Quake putty. They are just handy if you're placing objects and you need somewhere to help them stick. Especially it was helpful on these river rocks because they're all different levels, but definitely having either one of these will be an aid for you on those rocks. I'm just massaging this museum wax putty in my hands, and just to soften it up a bit so that I can use it to stick on the feet of my little objects here that I'm gonna place in this little setting. You don't need much, you just need a couple little dabs. Lastly, I'd like to discuss a little bit about lighting. I'm not like an expert of lighting. If you shoot these things in natural light, that is your better way to go. But I do have one quick tip of something that I purchased for, not at all for lighting, and I'm using it now for lighting. So let's take a look at what that is. Okay, so I have a couple clip lights clipped onto this post-rigged looking thing that actually is made for cat or dog grooming. I purchased this thing thinking that I was going to be able to use it to put my cats in a harness so I could brush their teeth. Yeah, I don't know what the heck I was thinking, because there's no way that was ever gonna happen. But it was only 30 bucks from Amazon and is working out really well as a rig for lighting. So I can clip on these little guys, and I'm debating possibly purchasing another one, because all it is this little clamp here at the bottom. It's got two clamps, one that connects the piece to whatever surface you have it on, and then a post that allows you to raise and lower it, and it's actually working out really great for lighting. Alright you guys, that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please like and subscribe if you did. Tell your friends. And hopefully I will see you soon. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna have the bestest looking pictures. Well, this is gonna take all day. Pause, hopes. Maybe they're hopes. I don't know. It's done!